This is going to be such a well, you know what? First of all, we want to welcome everyone to Hassan Jaffer. He is an astrologer, and this is so interesting, Hassan, because we were talking, and we've known each other now for almost a year. It is more than just 12 signs. It is more than, a lot of people, they think, what? You could predict? How can you predict as an astrologer?
Well, I don't like to use the word prediction, actually. For example, if you go to a movie and you can say, like people say, it's really against the religion to even predict. But if you go to a movie, for example, we know your taste and say, I think you'll really love that. Or the accountant, for example, looks at all your finances and say, if you continue in this track, you're going to go bankrupt in 2 months. It's also prediction. But in our case, so we look at people's, it's an interesting balance between free choice, etc. And when I read the Bible and in the Quran also, they talk about Abraham. Right. Having a dream that he's sacrificing a son, that he loves God so much, and he said, would you sacrifice what you love most? He said, yes. And that one line, I just want to show you just a brief thing. And when he has his dream, so he goes through the whole experience, and whether it's true or not, it's just a metaphor. But after this whole, there was no difference between him sacrificing his son or just going through the experience. And after that, he gets this, so when he wakes up, he finds that he's actually this goat and all that. But he gets this way from God, saying that we've made the interpretation of your dream come true, but we've changed the act. That one line is what I based my entire astrology on. That, in other words, the experience was, so if I was Prophet Abraham's astrologer, if I said, Prophet Abraham, you're going to sacrifice your son, it would be total blasphemous, didn't happen, 100% wrong.
You'd say, what?
But if I said, Prophet Abraham, you'll go to the experience of sacrificing your son, when it'll happen, and how long would it last? All three things are being 100% correct.
So right when you're born with certain aspects, but you still have free choice.
Absolutely, absolutely. The experiences are there, are destined, how long will they last, and the duration, etc., but what you do with it. So I can predict, even my computer can predict that you'll feel very, very sad. You might even cry, for example, on such and such a date for half an hour. But even I cannot predict whether you're crying for yourself or self-pity. For self-pity or for compassion for someone else. That's your free choice. And that's how we offset the theme.
So how can you explain to viewers, okay, it is more than 12, as you just explained, it is more than 12. Everyone is somehow influenced by other signs as well. So I'm a Virgo, you're a Sagittarius, but we're more than just 12 people. 12 different personalities.
Well, the thing is, like, you also have these house cuts. For example, Leo just indicates somebody who's very dramatic and theatrical. Wherever you have Leo in your chart, you'll have fame. If it's in the third house, you'll be driving a Ferrari, for example, or you ride with a gold pen, for example, or you'll be known for the way you communicate. Like in your case, you have Leo in the third house. So you're known for the way you communicate. That's part of your fame aspect.
Flamboyant.
Yeah, but you're excellent also, and you're very down to earth too. In my case, Leo is part of my 9th house.
Which means?
It's like some connection with, I wouldn't say hot time with God or something, because that's like blasphemous, but it's like, you are kind of, there's nothing in life which makes me more happy than a little bit of truth. So that's, when you're doing
philosophical, you're more into the spiritual.
Yeah, but also the Leo part, there is a fame theme. So there are more than 15,000 clients, 6 kings and queens, for example. But it's all related also. So wherever you have it, if it's in the 4th house, you might live in a castle. If it's in the 7th house, like one of my clients, for example, her name is Regine's. It's this disco in New York and Geneva and London. It's a very famous disco. Prince Diana used to go there, all that. And her husband, this fellow has this Raja Shukran. He has Aquarius rising. Leo is part of his 7th house of marriage. His fame is for his marriage partner. Every time
like
someone
Obama,
meets him,
you were telling me.
Every time somebody meets him, they say, oh, yeah, Regine's husband. That's the Leo theme.
Okay, you know what? We're going to continue this with Hassan Jaffer. He is an astrologer, and we're going to talk about celebrities, Obama, palms, whether you're joined or separate. He's going to explain more. Please stay with us. We're here in studio. We'll be right back. This is so exciting. We are in studio. This is my first time in 12 years. We have here a special guest. We have Hassan Jaffer. He is an astrologer, and he's going to tell us what's coming up in 2013 for specific signs. For example?
Well, there's a major 7-year cycle starting for the signs of Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius.
That's Tim, and Aquarius, and that's Nicola.
I see. Well, so it's the end of the 7-year cycle, so they can reflect on what happened from the last 7 years. Then it's the time to think for the next 2.5 years to establish for the next 7 years.
Okay.
So all the long-term goals, whether you want to have a child, you want to have a property, you want to have a new career, well, I shouldn't say new career, or within that career you take new responsibilities. But people encounter a lot of delays usually on this transit because you're just as if something within you wants to test your own ability that you're on the right profession or not, or right career, etc.
So it's a good thing in a way if you're tested, right? Because in this way it shows your stamina or your
organizing skills, etc. Like for example, Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn were in that aspect from last year till this October, and they encounter a lot of delays. And now it's exactly opposite. Because now you start getting the rewards of that.
So now they're reaping the rewards.
That's right. Yeah.
For the next. So everybody goes through a 7-year cycle.
They do, yeah. But this one is a very special one. It's because Saturn is in Scorpio, so it's a very it's not an easy aspect, and these are all quite stubborn signs. They're very fixed signs. But for example, in Obama's case, he has Saturn right on top of the chart. You know, before he was even nominated, we had predicted a 2-time presidency for him, based on some of the world events that I said.
You put that in your newsletter,
yeah, way before, before 2008, that he even came in at that time. So, but right now, for example, all the planets are right on top in his chart.
So what does that mean?
A lot of authority, a lot of responsibility, so it's the highest aspect of achievement. Whereas Mitt Romney's were way behind his. Hillary was even, further back.
Okay, so she was at the bottom.
That's right, but her planets are moving up. But it's interesting, in 2006, June, if you go on my website, and under famous horoscopes, and if you see her, I think at that time, and we have said that she is susceptible to brain aneurysms. That time because of Aries in the 12th house, in her case.
So we spoke about Leo, Aquarius,
so Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. So they are into a brand new cycle. Now, within that aspect, like Taurus and Scorpio are getting some very positive aspect as well, very inspirational, very creative type of things as well.
Good for Taurus.
Yeah.
What about the other signs? Sagittarius, Gemini,
Aries,
Virgo, Pisces?
Aries, Gemini, Leo, Libra, Sagittarius, and Aquarius. They're all getting aspects from Jupiter right now till about June.
What does that mean?
From foreign countries, from foreign lands, for mass communication, for new contractual matter, they become more philosophical, more optimistic, more positive. So it's extremely positive then. From June of this year, for about 1 year, then all the water and earth signs will gain from that. Again, like Taurus and Cancer and Scorpio and Virgo. And there are some slow-moving planets which are making some completely new thing, like Pluto being the sign of Capricorn.
What does that mean?
This coincides with major geological revolution, the weather pattern that you're seeing. I'm totally devastating. This is once in 246 years that this aspect happens.
So you could predict what the future trends for
we wrote this way before. At least 10, 15 years ago I wrote about this aspect. It will have these geological revolutions, tectonic shifts, even the manufacturing of synthetic diamonds.
Synthetic diamonds.
That's right. Because Capricorn is all that rocks and manufacturing, new ways of doing the manufacturing industry. But one of the really exciting things that's coming up, so it has already started, is Uranus being the sign of Aries. Aries is like a genius aspect. When you think like a child, the divine nature is always very, very simple rules.
No
Man-made
filter,
rules are very
just
complicated. That's right. So in optics, in energy, in fusion, like all these things, at the very basic level, when they find out all kinds of new ways of doing things.
Okay, coming up, what we're going to also discuss with Hassan is age group. So it's not just the sun sign, that's very important, but it's also the time that you were born and the group that you fall under. Now, not only is your sun sign important, but also the decade that you were born, according to Hassan Jaffer, who is our astrologer. He's an international astrologer, as well as you wear many hats as well. So what you mean is, if you were born in the 40s, 50s, 60s, you are influenced by a certain theme. Yes?
That's right, yes. It's the Neptune. See, Neptune is it's a 165-year cycle. So when you divide 165 by 12, so it's about 12, 14 years in each sign. So starting from 1900 till about 1915, when Neptune was in the sign of Cancer, it represents the inspirational ideals of your generation. And Cancer is a sign of family and the home. And who are the people? Just look at the names here.
Okay, so we have this one?
Yes.
We have Lucille Ball, Lauren Green,
Dr. Seuss.
Dr. Seuss, Mark Twain. Wow.
Lauren Green.
Yeah. It's
and
Sullivan.
you can see
Bob Hope.
That's right. He was also from that age group, yes, yeah.
Walt Disney.
Walt Disney.
That's a huge one.
Yeah, for the family and all that, exactly.
And the next one?
After that was Neptune was in Leo, the age of the golden movies. You know, that roaring lion was a perfect symbol for that, because lion is a Leo theme.
Oh.
And, you know, it was the most charismatic aspect. Even the crooks were famous on that, John Dillinger and all that.
So is Al Capone there?
But JFK was one of that. He's actually a bit later, but Walter Cronkite, Queen Elizabeth II, Pierre Trudeau, Maria Callas, like all these people were born that Neptune, Chaviran.
Marilyn Monroe?
Marilyn Monroe, of course.
Oh,
yes,
that's a big icon figure.
Yes, absolutely, yeah. And but there's a certain elegance about them, a certain dignity about them, you know, so and all the palaces and the dramatic and theatrical flair. And so that was exactly the Neptune Leo. Then after that was the Neptune in Virgo. Now that was for till about 1929.
Okay.
From 1916, that's all. Right after that, Elizabeth Taylor was born. And but she's from the next generation. She's not from the age of the gold movie. She was right.
She's
after
not.
That. No, she's not. You know, in fact, you know, when the way they speak also. Like I remember seeing her in the Academy Awards, and she said, "Well, you know, the minute she started speaking, you could tell it's a different age group." She said, "Well, you know, I've sat in the audience as a loser. I've sat in here as a winner." Like even the way they say it, but
So she's not as refined. This is what you're saying?
Yeah, and there's certain, you know, there's certain. I mean, even she was quite dramatic and thing. But Marilyn Monroe had then nobody had been able to emulate that at all. And there were many critics still that tried to emulate her. But Neptune in Virgo is a real perfectionist age group, right? From Elvis Presley, the blues age group, Willie Nelson, and of course the stock market crashed in 1929, October. So everybody was poor at that time. They lost a lot of money and all. So, but these people are very close to nature and the weeds and...
Nature group. Next, what's the next one?
That?
Okay.
The next very romantic age group.
So we're looking in the
40s,
50s?
40s and 50s. That's
40s
right.
and 50s.
Yanni, Julio Iglesias. The war had ended, all the love stories, everywhere the Taj Mahal was conceived as a monument to love. Renaissance thrived when Neptune was in Libra. So this is the most romantic age group. In fact, Love Story was made in the 50s.
Ah, and what about 60s?
Then the 60s is a bit of an extreme age group.
The rebellious type.
It's just like a black and white, I mean, the black and deep burgundy, the color of Dracula. So it's a very intense age group. And there's a certain edge. There's nothing mushy about the age group at all. All the violent movies and Al Capone, the Godfather's theme, that's all Neptune being the sign of Scorpio. And the extreme spirituality. Michael Jackson was born with that aspect. And also Van Damme, Mike Tyson.
Mike Tyson.
Bin Laden.
Wow.
They all from that age group. Princess Diana.
Okay, we have 30 seconds. 70s?
70s is Prince William. It's a very philosophical age group throughout 70s. And... I guess we'll have to talk about it after that then, yeah.
And what about 80s, very quickly?
80s is the one, we'll have to really discuss this a little bit more also. They love the corporate, the Wall Street.
So that's their fantasy. That's what they love more than anything else.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah,
yes,
so Wall Street is not a bad thing. It's a good one.
Yeah, they're all the finance majors and all that. That's all that. Yes.
We're going to continue right here with, isn't he interesting? Isn't it so cool? Hassan Jaffer right here in studio. Please stay with us. And you know what? Since Nicola, she threw to us, she's our weather specialist, you can also somehow predict the weather through moon transit, which is another, for example, right now it's moon in Leo.
Right.
And what does that mean?
Well, in a couple of days it goes into Virgo. When it goes into Virgo, it's always, well, people find it miserable and all kind of thing. I love it, you know, when it's raining and cloudy, because in London I used to live there, and I used to love that weather. But when it's in Pisces, for example, Titanic sank that time, and all kinds of storms happen when moon's in Pisces.
So is it good that it's moon in Leo now and it's ending the year?
Leo's one of the
nice
best
and
aspects,
party.
yes, absolutely, yes. And even the colors it's wearing, Leslie was wearing that gold thing. Now, she didn't realize it. It's just a sort of a stark quality that it gives automatically.
Yeah, and you're wearing a little bit of gold.
Yes.
I'm wearing a little bit of gold. Okay, let's go back to the decades and how that was very important. We ended off with the 80s.
Well, we're talking about from 84 to 98.
Yes.
Those are the ones, you know, because Neptune is in Capricorn. When you combine the inspirational aspect with the natural laws, so these are the people who find the best solutions using natural laws for the environmental aspect, and also, you know, anything to uplift the humanity. And people like the Industrial Revolution happened last time, exactly when Neptune was in Capricorn. The same thing is coming back now. Ulysses Grant was born with this aspect. Red Cross founder was born with this. And philanthropist Andrew Carnegie was one of this. So some of the biggest philanthropists, and there's big aspects of going on about philanthropy right now.
So that's what's happening right now.
And that age group of 84 to 98, especially the late 80s, the other ones who are very instrumental, they're going to Bill Gates and all the people and asking them, you know, that we should do something for to uplift the humanity. So, and using natural laws and magnetism and all that, how to use it to uplift humanity. That's all 90s. That's right.
Okay, and 2000s?
98 till 2012. That was Thomas Alva Edison was born with that. This is what I call animated age of the movies. When all these Disney classics
like
came up with animated
or
Pixar and all the new Walt Disney, the three avatars and all that came in, for example, that's that whole age group. Right?
So that age group is technically very natural for them.
High-tech. Alexander Graham Bell was born with that. Thomas Alva Edison, more than 1,000 patents to his name. So he was born in this aspect, yes.
Okay, and when we talk, now the thing is, we want to tell viewers that the sun signs, the decades that you were born, it's what you do with this information that's very important.
Absolutely, but you see, certain things are common to all age groups. For example, everybody who was born in the 60s and also in the late 20s, the age of the gold movies, and this intense group of 60s like Obama, Ahmadinejad, George Bush Sr. They're all in a very stressful aspect right now throughout the month of January. Syria is half as I said.
So only for the month of January?
Only for the month of January, and later on in the month of May, from mid-April to the end of May, they'll also again get the same thing. So in his case, in Obama's case, the last 2 weeks were very difficult, and only for one more week. And that's when all the fiscal things, all this will be over by then.
So you could predict also which time period, during what time you were born, during what decade, what is beneficial and what is something to be careful.
And which age group is more susceptible at that time. For example, the late 80s. You know, 3 of the last shooting happened when Mars was touching off their Uranus and Saturn, the major action configuration. So they are again in that same aspect from mid-March till mid-April. That's the next time for the 80s age group.
Astrotrends.net, if you want any more information. He has tons. We're going to continue right here in studio with Hassan Jaffer. He's going to tell us more about not only 2013, but beyond. Please stay with us. We're going to tell you a whole lot more coming up. Okay, we're going to talk about celebrities now. We're going to have fun.
Okay.
And not only are we going to talk about the celebrities and their signs, but also their palm. So apparently their palm, so what you have in your palm sort of is...
It shows your approach, how you approach life, you know.
How you approach life. Okay, so we're going to look at Tom Cruise first. So here's a look at Tom Cruise. And so let's talk a little bit about... Okay, there we go. There's Tom Cruise. What can you tell us about Tom Cruise?
Excellent. Have you started?
Yes. Oh. Yes, we're on, Hassan. Yes.
Okay, I'm going to have you guess whether his brain is separate or not. But just let me name 3 movies. Top Gun.
Top Gun.
Mission Impossible. Yeah. Of course, 1, 2, 3. And he was playing himself, exactly. Arrogant, confident, dynamic, fast. So brain is joined or separate, you think?
It's separate. So when we're talking about the palm, we're talking about everyone look at their palm.
That's right. The line that goes all around the thumb, that's called the lifeline, but the one that on top, that's the brain line or the headline. And if they're joined, it's quite common with the women to be joined. But I noticed a lot of here...
Nicola and Leslie, they're both separate.
Completely separate, yeah. And they love the outdoors, and she's into all hip-hop and jazz and everything. So the more brain line...
So there we go. There's that is a joined...
That's a joined one. Excellent, yes.
So these people are more like people who like to do things...
They're more cautious. They like the security. They should be doing blue-chip investments. This one is a total mama's boy, if there's a man. So women would love that when the brain line is really joined. You know that, it's just like a mother saying to her son, now why do you want to get married? You're only 55. That's that one.
What about the next one? If we could show the next picture. So then people at home, they can look at their palm. Exactly, and that is separate. That's what Leslie has. That's what Nicola has.
Now these are the ones, if they're in boys and women also, they have more like the ADD, you might say. But instead of giving pills, they need less boring teachers. They learn by audiovisual. Instead of learning for 6 months in conservatory, they want to play the Beethoven the first day. They need to see results right away, otherwise they get bored.
And your line's separate as well.
Completely, yes.
Yes.
Absolutely. People who are motivators, who are dynamic, who are like Obama, for example, completely separate. So people are inspirational. And they do not find these defects in people. Fantastic, because they inspire people. But that's something you're born with. Or, for example, Bill Clinton, same thing.
Okay, let's look at Obama, if we can look at Obama next. You really like Obama, and he's headline separate.
I like certain aspects. I mean, he's a sort of radical visionary. Certain aspects. I don't like his plans for Afghanistan. I'd said right in the beginning they'll get bogged down unnecessarily, it's just unnecessary,
So this is Obama right over here, so you can clearly see.
Yeah, brain is totally separate, and he's got long fingers, so very analytical. He's a thinker, but he's very action-oriented also. And sports and athletics.
So how long your fingers are
that
also
makes
important?
a difference, yes. Yeah.
So
like you have shorter fingers, so you're very fast in assessment of the whole situation.
Yeah, I have to.
But your brain line is joined, so you're not immediate. Like a stock market would not be good for you at all, because you lose your
I don't like it.
But by the time you act, the whole market would change. It makes you too loyal.
Yes. Yeah, thank goodness I'm not in Wall Street.
But that's a gambler's hand, like he has. That's why he said, okay, fine, we'll go to the club, for example. So But Boehner's hand is totally joined, like Mitt Romney, for example. People who maintain status quo, the brain line is joined.
Mitt Romney was joined, like you said.
That's right.
So he would say, if he was president, he would make everything status quo.
Absolutely, exactly. He'll be just like Bush. Bush Jr. was also like that, just following the agenda of someone else.
Angelina Jolie.
Angelina brain line totally separate.
She's dynamic.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Very dynamic woman.
And in women, you see, it's not a common thing in women. So they have to be careful that the man doesn't have a lot of a delicate ego, for example, because most women have brain line joined.
Right.
Yeah, and this is one of the biggest problems in our society. When you have many boys, especially, you know, all the shooting and all that happen, for example. So they have this, they're very rebellious, but the brain line is joined, so they're not doing anything about it. If the brain line is separate, they don't really care. They do their own thing anyways.
So the whole thing about palmistry and astrology is that when you give people information and you understand about the other people around you and their information, it makes you more susceptible to understand their thought process.
Absolutely. See, teachers and principals and coaches, for example, what kind of player? You know, the first time I saw this player, I was at a Raptors game, and this fellow, you know, I said, you know, afterwards, I said, no, that you must have brain line completely separate. He said, what do you mean? I said, let me see your hand. His brain line was totally separate. And he said, how could you tell? I said, because you were the only gambler in the whole team. Everybody was passing to each other. You were 30 points behind, and that was Chris Bosh.
And we got to go, because I'm joined and I listen. Please stay with us. We're going to show you a lot more right here. You're the leader. I'll follow. We'll be right back with Hassan Jaffer. He's our astrologer. We're going to tell you a lot more coming up right after this. We're going to continue right here with Hassan Jaffer. He is an astrologer, and we're going to talk about trends, because this is what you can also predict as well.
Absolutely.
For example, 2013, what are we looking into?
See, Saturn is in Scorpio now from about November onwards, the most violent sign, and it'll continue for the next 2 years. And what do we have on the 4th of January, right after all this shooting coming up? Chainsaw Massacre. I mean, it's so stupid, you know? Like, they have absolutely no sense whatsoever. Now, so on one side, we have got black, gothic, black leather, all this aspect coming up throughout the...
That's going to be the fashion.
That's right, in 2013. But you also have this real floral, you know, with that Neptune and Pisces, very inspirational, the beautiful children's stories, the three-dimensional analog coming back, for example.
What about the elderly?
Elderly is also a very important aspect throughout 2013. In fact, for the next 10 years, the children and older people with that Neptune and Pisces. Another thing, of course, all the floods coming up. That's another Neptune and Pisces theme, a lot of that, yeah.
So we should be looking at different places throughout the world?
But no tsunamis.
That was my next question.
That's right,
okay.
yeah. And you know, when I had predicted in 2004 that the beginning of that and the end would be the most critical one for the underwater earthquakes, triggering of major tsunamis, it happened in December 2004. And then in 11th of March, not even a day off. On one side, the last day of Uranus and Pisces, the next day it went to Aries for all the nuclear explosions, which is still danger for the next 6 years.
So I guess this is what we want to also stress to everyone as well, that not only can you, you find that you are better than a psychic because you can predict.
Well, psychics are just like guesswork, and I've never met a single psychic. I mean, you know, 95% or 90% of my clients are all word of mouth. We have more than 15,000 clients around the world. And but I see because they have no basis. See, the thing, if you try to pinpoint the date, it's a different part of the brain.
Right.
You can have an intuition. I mean, in my case, for example, you know, I'm an artist, I'm a musician, I'm an engineer. Like, I do so many different things. So there's a logical side, there's an inspirational side, and you've got to be talented in all these things to be a damn good astrologer. And whereas, for example, the psychic aspect is an inspired feeling. You get $20 here, tell me something. Suddenly you have all kinds of inspiration in the world.
But you prove it. You prove it through astrology.
And you know my astro calendar. For example, if you see it, every 28 days, the same thing keeps coming back. Every time it moves in the 12th house, you feel run down, tired. When it's in the 8th house, you always get money.
So we're talking about people that they all go through different cycles.
And it's so easy to predict for them. So that's why I'm developing all these products for them. Like Astro Calendar, like my Moon Magic, for example, that I used to publish. Now we've automated it so they can see it themselves.
So by going to your website and by checking the moon, you can see what aspect it would relate to you. So for example, it's Moon in Leo. So it is more...
It's the best time. It's the best time.
It's a good party for
Very
the
good
year,
party. That's right, yeah. Like I remember last time they were doing Academy or something when Moon was in Virgo, and Princess Diana passed away around that time. She passed away when Moon was in Leo, so royalty in the news. Like last time, remember, there was also with Kate, also was in the news, and there was that Moon in Leo.
And palmistry, sort of, it's a good match with astrology.
Well, you know, it's an easiest one. Like, for example, my latest ebook, which is just about ready now, and I'll be having just 2 points. That's it. The brain line separate and join. So for the children, if you have children, for example, who have joined or separate, what kind of some learn better from audiovisual, and others don't. So that part for the teachers, for coaches, I mean, there's so much material just from that.
Because your whole point of your astrology, more than anything else, is what to do with this information.
Absolutely,
It's not just for
application,
fun.
exactly.
It's about saying, this is what you can learn.
Exactly.
Or if you're with this person, this is how you could communicate with them.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And what's really interesting is that you also developed, we only have seconds left, but you developed a program where you can take the father's chart, mom's chart, and you know how the children are going to...
This is my biggest accomplishment right now.
Yeah, well, I'm just going to...
100 parents, one child, in 30 seconds, my software will tell you exactly not only who's a parent, but what specific traits does that child inherit from which parent. The next 50 years I would give for medicine. There's no way they can come close to it.
But you're going to translate all this, because when I look at this, I'm like, oh, okay, there are cute little stars up there.
No, what they've inherited from the mother is the red, the blue is from the father, for example. And that's why Uncle Frank is really the real father, I believe, of Obama, not the goat herd from Kenya.
Oh.
They both have that same radical visionary aspect.
If you want any more information, astrotrends.net. This is just the surface. And thank you so much for joining us. This was fun, Hassan.
Excellent.
It really was. Happy New Year to you and your family.
Same to you.
And to you, everyone, Happy New Year. Make it a safe one.